The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Chapter 2, Habit 1. Be proactive. Imagine life is just a book with blank pages. If you had the opportunity to write your own story, what would you want it to say? If your life were to end today, what would the book contain? Would the book contain stories of a person who accomplished nothing because you were a victim of your environment? Or would the book contain stories of a person who took action despite their physical environment? Here's where we have our first principle. The principle of ownership. We can take control of our lives. It's so easy to place blame on others for the status of our lives, but it becomes futile. It's not my fault, and I had no control over what happened are common phrases that we say when we find ourselves in sticky situations. But when we start to take ownership of our lives, we adopt a new principle, and our world begins to change. The principle of ownership forces us to admit that we let ourselves go, but it also forces us to take ownership of the successes in our life. This paradigm shift begins the first habit: be proactive. People who are proactive take action. They take responsibility in their life and assume ownership. For instance, proactive people don't wait for a diagnosis to make a healthy lifestyle change. They don't wait for their boss to give them instructions. Instead, they identify problems and come up with solutions. They actively listen to the people in their lives and don't wait for a fight to begin communicating effectively. To help you identify the difference between proactive people versus reactive people, imagine a circle of concern. This circle represents all the things that you worry about. Maybe you're worried about paying a bill or flying across the country. Inside the circle of concern is the circle of influence, which represents all the things you can do something about. Reactive people focus on the circle of concern, unlike proactive people who focus on the circle of influence. By focusing on the things they can change, proactive people shrink their circle of concern. One way to begin taking ownership is through language. Proactive people use words like I will, I can, and I prefer, whereas reactive people use I can't, I have to, and if only. Reactive people believe they are not responsible for their actions and words. So, instead of saying things like, he makes me so mad, shift your focus to I control my own feelings, and begin converting reactivity into proactivity. Once you realize that you have a blank book to write, you can begin filling it with what you want it to say. Focus on finding solutions instead of blaming outside sources for your problems, and begin changing the way you react to the problems in your life. Take responsibility, take ownership, and begin filling your pages with stories of someone that took action.